Hi, welcome to Archival Silence in an age of spreadable media, gender, sexuality, and open source steampunk fandom. My multimedia essay for the Archival Silences special issue of Digital Humanities Quarterly. I wanted to talk a little bit to you directly, a little bit about what this project is about, what it does, all of those things. The project emerged out of two interests of mine. First was the idea that steampunk recreates the issues and the histories of the past, which is part of my larger interest in my scholarly work. The second is the way that archives, silence, and representation are changing in an age of social and digital media. And this is something I talk a little bit about in the essay. By saying this, I don't mean to be overly optimistic. Data is political. That's one of my beliefs. It's social and it's cultural. But I do mean this suggests that data, especially data that more people can access and use, changes the way that we conceptualize and strategize politics. I theorize this in what I call following other steampunk fans' open source culture. And I suggest that this requires a more dispersed sense of archival theory, one that's participatory as well as representational. So I asked the question, what is the role of gender and sexuality within open source culture, and how do we understand those politics? So I want you to know that there are several ways you can experience this project. I don't mean for it to be a sort of linear argument. It's sort of weird and impressionistic at times. First, you could just start by looking at my discussion of the inadequacies of textual archiving theory, especially as it relates to social media. The politics of open source culture and the potential of do-it-yourself punk culture that promotes female, trans, and queer individuals. And then you could move on to the individual case studies. You could also just simply start with the steampunk fans, see how they define their political individuality, and then reflect on the larger issues surrounding archives and culture. Finally, you could simply look at how this project emerged out of my Twitter conversation with Diana Foe, her commitment to social media, and then move on to my more traditional theoretical reflections, and see the two approaches as being in kind of a dialogue with each other, which they really were. At any rate, I hope you enjoy some of the ideas I present here, and maybe in an ideal world, it might encourage you to participate more fully in steampunk culture, fan culture, or any other forms of fan culture as a sort of political expression, if only to understand how fans are reinterpreting the 19th century for today. I'd like to include a few acknowledgments here. First, I'd like to say thanks to Kathy Harris and Jackie Wernemont for their help in conceptualizing this project and for encouraging me to think differently about archives. And I'd also like to really thank Diana Foe, who is the sort of unsung hero. I don't know, actually I sing it a little bit, her praises throughout the project. She helped introduce me to a lot of steampunk fans. And she also had one of the coolest projects, I think, that I feature in this article. She's a tireless advocate for understanding steampunk as a political space, and she influenced my thought quite a bit. All right, thank you very much. I hope you enjoy the article, and hopefully I'll talk to you soon.